Thank you all for your appearance today, Mr. Priestep. In response to Mr. Heinrich's question about whether Donald Trump had become an unwitting agent of Russia in their efforts to sow discord and discontent about our elections, you said that you declined to answer, which is understandable. Let's look at this from a different perspective. Since her election defeat, Hillary Clinton has blamed her loss on the Russians, Vladimir Putin, the FBI, Jim Comey, fake news, WikiLeaks, Twitter, Facebook, and my personal favorite, content farms in Macedonia. In her blaming her loss on these actors, has Hillary Clinton become an unwitting agent of Russia's goals in the United States?
And I'm sorry, sir, but I'd rather not comment. It's just something.
I understand.
It's just
I just wanted to
something
point
I
out
haven't
that you
given
look at it from two different
any
ways.
thoughts to.
So let's turn to other matters then. Would you advise states and localities in the conduct of their elections, or more broadly in their government services, not to use or not to do business with Kaspersky labs, companies that do business with Kaspersky or companies that use Kaspersky products in their systems?
Sir, I can't really comment on that in this setting.
Ms. Manfro, would you advise them not to use Kaspersky products?
Can also not comment on that in this forum, sir.
I don't even have to ask, Dr. Lyles. You're reaching for your microphone.
Yes, sir. I can't comment either.
Okay. Senator Risch says he'll answer, but I'll let him speak for himself at a later time. Mr. Priestep, we've talked a lot about Russia's intent and activities in our elections, but I think it's important the American people realize that it goes much farther than just elections and the 2016 campaign as well. Isn't it true that Russian cyber actors have been probing U.S. critical infrastructure for years?
Yes, sir, I can't go into specifics, but they probe a lot of things of critical importance to this country.
And as the head of counterintelligence, you write in your statement that, quote, Russia's 2016 presidential election influence effort was its boldest to date in the United States, which implies there have been previous efforts. You also say that the FBI had a strength in the intelligence community assessment because of our history investigating Russia's intelligence operations within the United States, both of which suggests that this keeps you pretty busy in your portfolio of counterintelligence. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this is, Russian intelligence threat is not just a cyber threat either. It also is a threat from traditional human intelligence, or what a layman might call spies. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do so-called diplomats who work out of the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. have a requirement to notify our State Department in advance if they plan to travel more than 25 miles and give that notification 48 hours in advance?
They do.
And the State Department is supposed to notify the FBI in advance of those travel arrangements, correct?
Yes.
Is it true that the Russian nationals often fail to give that notification at all, or they give it at, say, 4:55 on a Friday afternoon before a weekend trip?
Yeah, I'd prefer not to go into those details here, but I'll leave it at that.
Does it complicate you and your agent's efforts to conduct your counterintelligence mission to have Russian nationals wandering around the country more than 25 miles outside their duty assignment?
Sure, if that were to happen, that would absolutely complicate our efforts.
The Secretary of Defense recently indicated at a Armed Services Committee hearing that Russia is in violation of something called the Open Skies Treaty, a treaty we have with Russia and other nations that allow us to overfly their territory and take pictures, and they do the same here. Do we see so-called Russian diplomats traveling to places that are in conjunction with open skies flights that Russia is conducting in this country?
And I'm sorry, I just can't comment on that here.
Okay. Is it true? So last summer, an American diplomat in Moscow was brutally assaulted on the doorstep of our embassy in Moscow. Did we take any steps to retaliate against Russia for that assault in Moscow? Did we declare persona non grata any of their so-called diplomats here in the United States?
If I recall correctly, we didn't immediately do anything in that regard.
Okay. This committee passed unanimously in committee last year, something that just passed as part of the omnibus spending bill in April, a provision that would require, one, the State Department to notify the FBI of any requests for Russian diplomats to travel more than 25 miles outside their embassy, and to report violations to you. It further requires the State Department to report those violations regularly to this committee. What's the status of that provision now that it's been in law for about 2 months? Is the State Department cooperating more fully with you?
I guess I'd rather not comment on that here. We're still working through the implementation of that.
Well, I certainly hope they start. Thank you.
Senator Harris.